Jun Kim stood at the observation deck of Nexus 7, staring at the swirling nebula outside while gripping his communication tablet so tightly his knuckles turned white. The message from Earth Command had arrived just minutes ago, and he was still processing its implications. Diplomat Kim, you are ordered to address the situation with Princess Ta immediately. This has become a Level 1 diplomatic priority. Jun sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. 3 years of flawless service as Earth's representative at this neutral space station, and now his career might end because of an alien princess's social media post. The post in question glowed on his tablet screen. Galactic REDDIT. To all species. Humans claim they cannot breed with non-humans due to biological incompatibility. Yet they adapt to every environment, eat almost anything, and survive conditions that would kill most species. I believe their limitations are cultural, not biological. I challenge any human to prove me wrong. Princess Ta, Royal House of Valora. Below the post were millions of comments, shares, and reactions from beings across 17 star systems. Some found it hilarious, others offensive, and a disturbing number seemed genuinely interested in the scientific question. Ambassador Kim. Jun turned to see his assistant, Nari Park, standing nearby with a concerned expression. The High Council is meeting in 30 minutes to discuss the Princess Ta situation, Nari said. They've requested your presence. Jun nodded. Thank you. I'll be there. As Nari left, Jun turned back to the window. How had this happened? The Valorans were one of the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, but their social customs remained baffling. Apparently, discussing reproductive capabilities was perfectly normal in their culture, like humans discussing the weather. Jun remembered his first meeting with Princess Ta 3 months ago. She had been visiting Nexus 7 on a cultural exchange, and they had spoken briefly at a diplomatic reception. She had seemed intelligent and curious, asking detailed questions about Earth and human physiology. He should have recognized her scientific interest as something more than casual conversation. The elevator ride to the High Council chamber gave Jun time to organize his thoughts. The Nexus 7 Council consisted of representatives from 12 major species, all watching how Earth handled this embarrassing situation. Any misstep could damage humanity's standing for years. As Jun entered the chamber, the conversation stopped. Ambassador Loth, the massive reptilian representative of the Draz Collective, spoke first. Diplomat Kim, your species has created quite the interstellar incident. Not intentionally, Ambassador, Jun replied, keeping his voice steady. Princess Tae's question stems from a cultural misunderstanding. A misunderstanding that has been viewed by half the galaxy, added Representative Mal of the Centauri Alliance, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Many younger species are now questioning humans' place in galactic politics. Jun took a deep breath. I understand the severity of the situation. With your permission, I request an immediate meeting with Princess Ta to resolve this diplomatically. The council members exchanged glances. Finally, Senior Ambassador Ven, the oldest member present, nodded slowly. Granted, the princess is still on station in the Valoran diplomatic quarters. She has already been informed of the situation's gravity. Thank you, Jun said with a respectful bow. 30 minutes later, Jun stood outside the ornate entrance to the Valoran diplomatic suite. His tablet chimed with another message from Earth Command. Resolve this, wait Aoiki insulting the princess or her culture. Valorans control 3 major trade routes we cannot afford to lose. No pressure, Jun thought wryly. The door slid open to reveal Princess Ta herself. She looked much as Jun remembered, tall and graceful with the characteristic silver-blue skin of Valorans, intricate markings around her eyes indicating her royal status. She wore the formal robes of her house, suggesting she understood this wasn't a casual meeting. Diplomat Kim, she said, her translator converting her musical language to standard English. Please enter. I believe we have much to discuss. Jun followed her into a sitting area designed to accommodate multiple species. The princess gestured to a human-appropriate chair. "I am told my Galnet post has caused distress," she said, sitting across from him. "This was not my intention." Jun chose his words carefully. "Princess Ta, on Earth and many human colonies, discussions of reproduction are considered private matters, not public challenges." Tay's expression showed genuine surprise. "Truly? How fascinating. On Valora, reproductive science is discussed openly from early education. It is considered essential knowledge." She leaned forward. "I meant my question as a scientific inquiry. Your species fascinates me." "I understand," Jun said, "but the phrasing as a challenge and posting it publicly has created diplomatic tension. Some species are using this to question humanity's readiness for advanced galactic politics." The princess's markings flashed briefly, a sign of distress in Valorans. "That was not my intent. I am a xenobiologist by training. My interest is purely scientific." Jun nodded. "May I suggest an alternative approach? Perhaps we could arrange a formal scientific exchange between Earth xenobiologists and your research team." Princess Ta considered this. "A formal exchange would be acceptable. But my curiosity remains genuine, Diplomat Kim. Humans have adapted to more environments than any species we've encountered. Your biological flexibility is remarkable." "That's true," Jun acknowledged. "But biological compatibility for reproduction follows different rules." "So I am learning," the princess said with what Jun recognized as the Valoran equivalent of a smile. "I will remove my post and issue a clarification." As they discussed the details of how to proceed, Jun's tablet chimed with urgent news alerts. The incident had spread further, with opinion pieces appearing across Galnet. Some were calling humans primitively prudish, while others suggested the princess's interest was inappropriate. Jun showed these to Ta. "I see the complexity now," she said. "Our cultures approach these matters very differently." "This misunderstanding could become an opportunity," Jun suggested. "A chance to bridge cultural differences." Princess Ta nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps my mistake can lead to greater understanding between our peoples." As Jun left the Valoran quarters an hour later, he felt cautiously optimistic. The princess had agreed to issue a formal apology and explanation, citing cultural differences. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. What Jun didn't know yet was that this awkward diplomatic incident would soon change his life and interspecies relations in ways he could never have imagined. Jun adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform as he walked through the gleaming corridors of Nexus 7's Cultural Exchange Center. 3 days had passed since his initial meeting with Princess Ta, and despite her apology post, the situation had only grown more complicated. The grand meeting hall had been prepared according to both human and Valoran protocols. Earth flags stood beside the silver-blue banners of the Valoran Empire. The temperature was set at a compromise between human comfort and Valoran preference. Princess Ta was already waiting when Jun arrived. She sat at the oval table with 2 Valoran advisors flanking her. Jun noticed she wore less formal attire today, the Valoran equivalent of business casual, which he hoped signaled her willingness to have a more candid conversation. "Diplomat Kim," she greeted him, her translator conveying her musical tones into clear English. "I appreciate this opportunity to better understand human customs." Jun bowed slightly. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Your Highness. I hope we can find a path forward that respects both our cultures." As they sat down, Jun's assistant Nari discreetly placed a tablet in front of him. A quick glance showed the latest headlines from across Galnet. One from the Draz News Network caught his eye. "Human reproductive taboos. Signs of an undeveloped species." Jun tried not to sigh. This was exactly what he needed to address. "Princess Tai," he began, "while your apology was appreciated, I'm concerned about how this incident is being used by certain groups to undermine human standing in the galactic community." The princess's facial markings pulsed with a pattern Jun had learned indicated concern. "Yes, I have observed this as well. It was never my intention. On Valora, reproductive science is taught alongside mathematics and physics. The idea that discussing such matters could be offensive is still difficult for me to fully grasp. One of her advisors, an older Valoran with elaborate markings, spoke up. Perhaps Diplomat Kim could explain why humans consider these topics taboo. From a scientific perspective, it seems counterproductive. Jun considered his words carefully. It's not that humans consider reproduction itself taboo. We have extensive scientific knowledge in this area. But in our culture, reproduction connects to concepts of privacy, intimacy, and personal choice. What might be a casual scientific discussion for Valorans touches on deeply personal aspects of human life. Princess Tai leaned forward, clearly interested. Fascinating. So the offense came not from the scientific question itself, but from asking it publicly. Exactly, Jun said, relieved at her quick understanding. And phrasing it as a challenge suggested something very different in human culture than what you intended. The meeting continued for nearly 2 hours, with both sides explaining their perspectives. Jun learned that Valorans viewed reproduction primarily as a biological function worthy of scientific study, while personal relationships were considered the truly private matter, the opposite of human norms in many ways. As they were concluding, Jun's tablet chimed with an urgent notification. He glanced down and felt his stomach tighten. Is something wrong? Princess Tai asked, noticing his reaction. Jun hesitated before turning the tablet so she could see. On screen was a new Galnet post from a coalition calling itself Advanced Species Alliance. The post featured an unflattering image of Jun alongside Princess Ta's original challenge, with the caption, "Humans, too primitive for galactic politics. Vote in upcoming council elections." "This is unacceptable," Princess Ta said, her markings flashing with what Jun now recognized as anger. "They are using my scientific inquiry for political purposes." "Unfortunately," Jun replied, "this is exactly what Earth was concerned about. Several key council positions are up for election next month, and anti-human factions are using this incident to suggest we're not ready for leadership roles." The princess was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then we must respond properly, not just with an apology, but with education. I propose a joint human-Valoran cultural understanding initiative. Jun felt a spark of hope. What exactly do you have in mind? A series of public discussions, open, honest dialogue about our different cultural approaches to science, relationships, and biology. We could invite other species to share their perspectives as well. Her eyes brightened. We can turn this misunderstanding into an opportunity. As Jun left the meeting an hour later, he had a carefully constructed plan in hand and a cautious optimism in his heart. Princess Ta had proved herself not just scientifically curious, but politically savvy as well. Together, they had drafted an announcement for a Galactic cultural exchange series to begin the following week. His optimism dimmed slightly when he reached his office to find Admiral Lee, Earth's military representative on Nexus 7, waiting for him. "Diplomat Kim," the Admiral said grimly. "I just received word that the Draz and Centauri representatives are calling for humans to be restricted from certain council committees until this matter is resolved. They're claiming humans are too culturally isolated to handle sensitive interspecies matters." Jun sank into his chair. Of course they are. The Draz have wanted control of the Trade Route Committee for years. Exactly. This isn't about reproduction or biology. It's about power. The Admiral's expression was grim. "Earth Command wants results, Kim. Fast. We're working on it, Princess Tai, and I have a plan." Admiral Lee raised an eyebrow. The same princess who started this mess. "She didn't understand our cultural context," Jun defended. "And now that she does, she wants to help fix it. We're organizing a cultural exchange series. Cultural talks won't stop the political maneuvering," the Admiral warned. Jun stared out his office window at the stars beyond. Maybe not immediately, but in the long run, understanding each other better is the only real solution. After the Admiral left, Jun reviewed the detailed plans he and Princess Ta had created. The first exchange would focus on cultural approaches to science and privacy, neutral enough to avoid further embarrassment while addressing the core issues. His communication console chimed with an incoming call from Earth Command. Jun took a deep breath before answering. He had a plan to present, but he knew Earth's leaders would want faster results than cultural dialogue could provide. As the stern face of the Secretary General appeared on screen, Jun straightened his posture. This would be a difficult conversation, but he believed the path he and Princess Ta had chosen was the right one, not just for resolving the current crisis, but for human-Valoran relations going forward. What Jun didn't yet realize was how much depended on the success of their cultural exchange, or how deeply his own future would become intertwined with these efforts to bridge the vast differences between their worlds. Jun paced nervously in the docking bay of Nexus 7, watching as the Earth science vessel, Curiosity, completed its final approach. The ship carried 5 of Earth's top xenobiologists, specialists in cross-species genetics and comparative biology. After weeks of careful planning, Jun had finally convinced Earth Command to approve this scientific exchange. They're beginning final docking procedures, Neri informed him, checking her tablet. Estimated arrival in 15 minutes. And the Valoran delegation? Jun asked. Already in the conference center. Princess Tai arrived early with her science team to prepare their presentation materials. Jun nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. This scientific exchange had to work. In the 2 weeks since his meeting with Princess Ta, the political situation had only grown more tense. The Advanced Species Alliance had gained support from 3 more member species, all calling for humans to be restricted from key council positions. The ship's airlock finally opened, and Dr. Min Su emerged first, followed by her team. Dr. Min was Earth's leading expert on xenogenetics, with 30 years of research experience. She had a stern face and practical short gray hair, but Jun knew her reputation for brilliant scientific communication. Diplomat Kim, she greeted him with a firm handshake. My team is prepared. Though I must say, this is an unusual diplomatic situation. Thank you for coming, Doctor. And yes, it's certainly unique, Jun replied. The princess's scientific curiosity is genuine, but the political implications have grown complex. Dr. Min nodded. So I've gathered. Well, let's address the science first. Politics tends to be more manageable when facts are clear. Jun led the Earth scientists to the conference center, where Princess Tai and 6 Valoran researchers waited. The princess wore formal scientific attire today, her silver-blue skin complemented by the deep blue markings of Valoran academic achievement. Welcome, Earth scientists, she said, approaching with a traditional Valoran greeting gesture. We are honored by your willingness to share knowledge. Dr. Min returned the gesture perfectly, impressing Jun with her cultural preparation. The honor is ours, Your Highness. Scientific exchange benefits all species. The formal presentations began with Dr. Min explaining the basics of human reproductive biology and the genetic barriers that prevented cross-species compatibility. She used clear visual aids and simple language that the translation systems could handle accurately. While humans show remarkable adaptability to different environments, she explained, our reproductive system has very specific requirements. Our DNA structure, cell division process, and embryonic development all follow patterns unique to Earth-evolved mammals. The Valoran scientists listened with intense interest, occasionally asking detailed questions that showed their advanced understanding of genetic science. Jun noticed with relief that the tone remained respectful and professional throughout. When it was the Valorans' turn, their lead scientist, Dr. Lon, presented equally detailed information about Valoran reproduction. Jun was fascinated to learn that Valorans had 3 distinct genetic contributions in their reproductive process rather than 2, making cross-species compatibility even less likely from their perspective. Which makes the princess's original question all the more interesting, Dr. Lon concluded. Not because compatibility would be possible, but because studying the vast differences in our approaches to reproduction helps us understand evolutionary paths across the galaxy. During a short break, Jun approached Princess Ta. "The exchange is going well," he said. Both teams seemed genuinely engaged. The princess's facial markings glowed with pleasure. "Yes, this is exactly the type of scientific dialogue I had hoped for from the beginning." She hesitated, then added, "I realize now I should have started with this approach rather than my public post. Earth's Dr. Min is extraordinarily knowledgeable." "She's one of our best," Jun agreed. "And your team is equally impressive." When the formal presentations concluded, something unexpected happened. Dr. Min and Dr. Lon discovered they had both researched a rare genetic adaptation found in species from high radiation environments. Their enthusiastic discussion sparked a collaborative energy in the room. By the end of the day, what had begun as a diplomatic damage control effort had transformed into a genuine scientific collaboration. The two teams made plans to publish a joint paper on comparative pterogenetics. As the scientists continued their discussions, Princess Tai approached Jun privately. "Diplomat Kim, I believe it is time for me to issue a more comprehensive statement regarding my original post." Jun nodded. "That would be helpful, Your Highness. I will formally withdraw my challenge and acknowledge that I approached the question in a culturally inappropriate manner. The scientific facts are clear. Biological compatibility between our species is not possible due to fundamental genetic differences." She paused. "But I would like to propose something more as well." "What do you have in mind?" Jun asked. "The scientific exchange has been so successful that I believe we should expand it into a broader educational initiative. A series focusing on cultural differences and how they affect scientific communication across species." Jun felt a spark of excitement. This was exactly the kind of positive outcome he had hoped for. "That's an excellent idea. It would help prevent similar misunderstandings in the future." And Princess Tai added, "It might help counter some of the political damage from those who wish to use this incident against humans." The next morning, Princess Tai's formal statement appeared on Galnet, accompanied by preliminary findings from the scientific exchange. Her withdrawal of the challenge was unequivocal, her apology gracious, and her explanation of the cultural misunderstanding thoughtful. But what generated the most attention was the announcement of the new educational series titled Understanding Across Stars: Cultural Contexts in Galactic Science. The initiative would feature experts from multiple species discussing how cultural differences affected scientific communication. Jun's communication console chimed with a message from Earth Command. Preliminary response positive. Continue the initiative. Secretary General sending personal commendation. Later that day, Jun met with Princess Ta to begin planning the educational series. As they worked together, Jun realized that the princess had a natural talent for cross-cultural communication once she understood the framework. "I've been thinking," she said as they finalized the outline for the first 3 episodes, "perhaps this incident, unfortunate as it began, might actually improve human-Valoran relations in the long term." Jun smiled. "I believe you're right. Sometimes the best understanding comes after a misunderstanding." What neither of them knew yet was how significant their educational series would become, or how their working relationship would evolve as they navigated the complex waters of interspecies diplomacy together. Understanding Across Stars: Cultural Contexts in Galactic Science aired its first episode exactly 1 month after the scientific exchange. Jun sat nervously in the broadcasting center of Nexus 7, watching as Princess Tai delivered her opening remarks with poise and sincerity. "What began as my own cultural misunderstanding has become an opportunity for all species to learn from one another," she said, her silver-blue skin glowing softly under the studio lights. "Today, we begin a journey of discovery not about our biological differences, but about our cultural perspectives." Jun had expected the series to attract modest attention, enough to calm the diplomatic waters and perhaps reach some academic circles. What he hadn't anticipated was just how hungry the galactic community was for exactly this kind of content. By the next morning, Viewing statistics showed that the first episode had been translated into 27 different languages and watched by beings on over 200 worlds. The discussion forums were filled with thoughtful comments and questions. "Have you seen this?" Nari asked, bursting into Jun's office and thrusting a tablet toward him. "The series is trending on every major Galnet platform." Jun scrolled through the data in amazement. "This is unexpected. And look at this," Nari continued excitedly. "The Draz Science Academy has requested permission to use the series in their diplomatic training program. The Draz. They were one of our biggest critics just weeks ago." The second episode, focusing on how different species approached scientific education, generated even more interest. Jun and Princess Tai had invited educators from 4 different worlds to discuss when and how young beings were taught about biology, reproduction, and interspecies differences. The series touched a nerve across the galaxy. Many species realized they had been making incorrect assumptions about each other based on their own cultural frameworks. The comment sections filled with stories of misunderstandings and awkward encounters that suddenly made sense in this new context. After the third episode aired, Jun received a direct communication from Earth Command. "Diplomat Kim," the Secretary General said, her expression showing rare approval. "Your handling of this situation has exceeded all expectations. What began as a potential diplomatic disaster has become Earth's most successful cultural outreach program to date." "Thank you, Madam Secretary. But the credit should be shared with Princess Ta. Her willingness to transform her mistake into a learning opportunity has been crucial." The Secretary nodded. "Indeed, we are considering extending a formal invitation for the Princess to visit Earth as an honored guest once the series concludes." Jun could hardly believe how quickly things had changed. Just weeks ago, he had feared for his career and worried about Earth's standing in the galactic community. Now he was receiving congratulations from across the diplomatic corps. As the series continued production, Jun and Princess Ta spent increasingly more time together. Their working relationship gradually evolved as they navigated the complexities of creating content that would resonate across vastly different cultures. One evening, after finishing the outline for Episode 5, they took a rare break in Nexus 7's Arboretum, a large chamber filled with plants from dozens of worlds, designed to provide familiar environments for the station's diverse inhabitants. "I still cannot believe how something that began so poorly has transformed into this," Princess Ta said, admiring an earth cherry blossom that had been coaxed to bloom in the carefully controlled environment. Jun smiled. "It's a testament to your openness, Your Highness. Many would have become defensive or withdrawn their question without seeking to understand. Please, when we are not in formal settings, call me Tai," she said. "After all we have accomplished together, such formality seems unnecessary." "Ta," then Jun replied, feeling oddly touched by this cultural gesture, "and you should call me Jun." They walked among the alien and earth plants, discussing the cultural meaning of flowers across different worlds. Jun learned that Valorans marked significant friendships by sharing knowledge of their homeworld, while Tai was fascinated by the human concept of giving flowers as gifts. Their friendship deepened as the weeks passed. Jun found himself explaining human concepts that he had never needed to articulate before, everything from humor to music to the complex emotions around personal relationships. In turn, Ta helped him understand Valoran perspectives that had once seemed completely alien. Meanwhile, Jun's public profile on Earth had risen dramatically. News programs featured stories about the diplomat who turned an interstellar incident into a cultural triumph. Students in diplomatic academies studied his approach as a case example of effective cross-cultural communication. After Episode 7 aired, a particularly popular discussion about how different species expressed emotions, Jun received a surprising message from his family back on Earth. "Your grandmother saw you on the global news network," his sister wrote. "She's told everyone in the neighborhood that her grandson is teaching aliens about humans. She's very proud, even if she doesn't quite understand what you're doing." Jun laughed. then realized with surprise how long it had been since he'd thought about how his work appeared from home. He had become so immersed in the project and his growing friendship with Todd that everything else had faded somewhat into the background. That realization was reinforced the next day when an official from the Centauri Alliance, once among the most vocal critics of humans in council matters, approached Jun in the station's main concourse. "Diplomat Kim," the Centauri said, her four eyes blinking in their distinctive pattern. "Your educational series has prompted my government to reconsider our position on several interspecies protocols. We would be interested in contributing to a future episode if that would be welcome." "Of course," Jun replied, hiding his surprise. "We would be honored to include Centauri perspectives." As he watched the Centauri official depart, Jun felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything in his diplomatic career so far. What had begun as crisis management had somehow become a genuine movement for better understanding across species. Later that evening, as he reviewed the outline for the next episode with Ty, he realized something had fundamentally changed. They were no longer just managing a diplomatic incident. They were helping to reshape how species across the galaxy communicated with each other. And somewhere along the way, his view of Princess Ty had transformed as well. No longer the alien princess whose cultural misstep had caused a crisis, she had become a trusted friend and partner in an unexpected mission of interstellar understanding. Jun straightened his formal diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. Through the doors of the main conference hall, he could hear the murmur of voices speaking dozens of different languages, all being processed by the advanced translation systems. 6 months ago, he could never have imagined standing here, about to co-host the first Galactic Cultural Exchange Summit with Princess Ta. "Are you ready?" Tai asked, appearing beside him. She wore the ceremonial attire of Valoran royalty, her silver blue skin complemented by intricate markings that signified both her royal status and her role as a cultural ambassador. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jun replied with a smile. 37 species in one room. That has to be some kind of record for a voluntary cultural summit. And to think it all began with my unfortunate Galnet post, Ta said, her facial markings shifting in what Jun now recognized as a mixture of embarrassment and amusement. "Sometimes I still cannot believe how that mistake transformed into all of this." The doors slid open, and they walked together onto the stage of the Grand Hall. Before them sat representatives from 37 different worlds, each with their own unique biology, culture, and perspective. Jun recognized many faces: the four-eyed Centauri ambassador, the reptilian Draz delegation, the gas-based Aetherian envoys floating in their special containment fields, and many others. "Welcome to the first Galactic Cultural Exchange Summit," Jun began, his voice steady despite his nerves. 6 months ago, the simple misunderstanding between humans and Valorans sparked a conversation that has grown beyond anything we could have imagined. Tai stepped forward. "Today, we gather not to erase our differences, but to understand them better. Each species in this room has its own unique perspective on science, relationships, communication, and life itself. By sharing these perspectives openly, we can build stronger connections across the galaxy." The first day of the summit focused on establishing new protocols for cross-species scientific communication. Dr. Min presented the framework she and Dr. Lon had developed based on their collaborative research. "Science itself may be universal," Dr. Min explained, "but how we approach, discuss, and share scientific knowledge is deeply cultural. These new protocols will help prevent misunderstandings while preserving the cultural context that makes each species' scientific contribution unique." During a break between sessions, Jun found himself approached by Ambassador Loth of the Draz Collective, once one of humanity's harshest critics. "Diplomat Kim," the massive reptilian said, "my government has authorized me to inform you that we will be supporting human candidates for the Trade Route Committee in the upcoming council elections." Jun was momentarily speechless. "Thank you, Ambassador. May I ask what prompted this change in position?" Loth's scaled face formed what Jun had learned was the Draz equivalent of a thoughtful expression. Your handling of the Princess Ta situation demonstrated something we had not fully appreciated about humans, your ability to transform conflict into collaboration. The trade routes require exactly this skill. The summit continued for 3 days, with discussions ranging from biological differences to artistic expressions to spiritual beliefs across species. Each session revealed new insights and connections. On the final evening, a formal reception brought together all the delegates in Nexus 7's Grand Observation Deck. The station had been positioned to offer a spectacular view of a nearby nebula, its swirling colors providing a fitting backdrop for the historic gathering. Ambassador Ven, the eldest member of the Nexus 7 Council, raised a container of compatible nutrition in a toast. To new understanding, the ancient being said, and to Diplomat Kim and Princess Ta, whose famous Galnet misunderstanding has become the catalyst for unprecedented cooperation. The gathered representatives all raised their various drinking vessels in agreement. Later, as the reception continued around them, Jun and Ta found a quiet moment by the observation window. "Did you ever imagine we would end up here?" Jun asked, gazing out at the stars. Tae's facial markings glowed softly in the dim light. "Never. When I made that post, I was simply a curious scientist asking what I thought was an interesting question. I had no idea about human cultural taboos or how my words would be perceived." Jun smiled. "And I was just a diplomat trying to prevent an embarrassing incident from damaging Earth's standing. I never expected it to lead to new interspecies protocols or changes in council politics. Or to friendship," Tai added softly. Jun nodded. "That has been the most unexpected outcome of all." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the nebula's colors shift and change against the black of space. "Earth Command has offered me a new position," Jun said finally. "Director of Interspecies Cultural Affairs. They want me to expand our program galaxy-wide." "Congratulations," Ta said. "They could not have chosen anyone better." "There's more," Jun continued. "They want it to be a joint position. They're extending an official invitation for you to serve as co-director, representing non-Earth perspectives." Ta's facial markings pulsed with surprise. "Truly, a joint human-Valoran diplomatic position." Jun nodded. "The first of its kind. Our educational series showed that having multiple perspectives leads to better outcomes. Earth Command wants to formalize that approach." The next morning, as the summit concluded, Jun and Ta stood together one last time before the assembled delegates. Behind them on the large display screen was an image that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. Princess Ta's original Galnet post, now framed as "the question that changed galactic diplomacy." "As we return to our homeworlds," Jun said, "let us remember that understanding begins with curiosity, even when that curiosity is expressed imperfectly." Ta nodded. "And let us remember that responding to misunderstanding with education, rather than anger, opens doors to new possibilities." As the delegates filed out, many stopping to offer personal thanks and congratulations, Jun reflected on the strange journey of the past 6 months. What had begun as a potentially disastrous cultural misstep had transformed into one of humanity's greatest diplomatic triumphs. More importantly, it had transformed Jun himself. Through his friendship with Tai, he had learned to see his own culture through new eyes, to question assumptions he had never before examined, and to find connection across seemingly unbridgeable differences. As the last delegates departed, Jun and Ta stood together looking out at the stars, ready to begin the next chapter of their unexpected partnership.